we interrupt your regularly scheduled broadcast with a brand new thing from the... this is... Let me see if I'm on the air. We are on the air.
Good to know. That's
awesome.
A great start. Yeah.
We're very good at this.
We've been here for a while. We're professionals now.
This is the very first episode ever of the Redwood Voicecast, which is going to soon be a YouTube series, and to keep people in the loop on KFUG News and Redwood Voice News and all sorts of other things. Should we do a professional intro?
Let's do a professional intro for us radio professionals.
Yes. And also for the YouTube edit, because I got to edit this, and you got to do like a whole breath.
Oh, boysy, yeah.
Man, this is some great radio now.
We are really, I think we're really spicing up the radio for our listeners, because, you know, I feel like they don't just get enough interruptions in their music.
They don't get enough interruptions to their dad rock.
Exactly, yeah, so we have to provide that for them.
You know what, thank you for playing us in Jimmy Rogers' Ludell. I don't know enough about this song to make a joke about. Jimmy Rogers. We did interrupt a Paul Simon song.
Oh, that's a big no-no for dad rock. You don't interrupt Mr. Simon.
You know, you don't interrupt Mr. Simon's very good music.
When he's just like bopping, yeah, that's illegal.
When he's Have a Good Time.
Is that the name of the song? Have a Good Time? We interrupted Paul Simon's Good Time.
Guys, we interrupted a good time.
Oh my God.
Careful with that axe, Eugene. Wait, that's the Pink Floyd song. I'm reading these titles and they're wild. I love them. Gumboots.
All right.
In other news, this is the Redwood Voicecast. This is the first episode of the Redwood Voicecast. Should we introduce ourselves or Redwood Voice first?
You know what? Let's introduce Redwood Voice first, just a kind of general, if you haven't heard.
If you haven't heard, Redwood Voice is a autonomously led youth media organization. We don't know the full history because it's got a very rich history. It's been like a good decade of different iterations of different media mentors teaching youth media skills, and there's it just really changes up like honestly every other year.
Really, yeah, it's kind of bounced around a lot, but it is, the more it's bounced around, the more youth it's reached and kind of taught them a lot of media skills, and eventually it just kind of landed in KFUG's lap, and we're like, oh, Redwood Voice, this
is the current iteration. Maybe it'll be a quick one and go to someone else, or maybe this will be a long-living one, because honestly, we're very hopeful for it and stretching out, just like this Voicecast.
Long live the KFUG Redwood Voice dynasty.
And the fun thing about it that I think we almost forget to mention, so it's not just journalism. Journalism is one of the biggest parts, especially since it is in the lap of a journalist organization, KFUG Community Radio, but it's mostly media activism or just media. We were previously encouraged to do entertainment. Mm-hmm. A lot of Redwood Voice has gone through entertainment and funny skits and things. We got it at the beginning of this year, so you can imagine why there's probably not been a lot of just real gut-busting laughs.
Yeah, this is not the year for
I just
chuckles.
realized, since we got it at the beginning of this year and we've been officially the new Redwood Voice, we've been doing pretty good navigating both locally and nationally.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of it. I'm just going to, first episode, pat ourselves on the back.
Give ourselves a round of applause. Just kind of unwarranted round of applause
We saved the city, Patrick.
Sorry. Should we introduce ourselves?
Yes. Oh, me first. Okay.
You first.
Okay.
I said introduce it. It's your turn.
Hello, I am Persephone Rose, or Persephone Corvid Rose, if you're like scolding me and using my full name. Mm-hmm. They, them pronouns, 20 years old. I'm an Aquarius. I like long walks on the beach. I've used this joke in other podcasts that we've done here on KFUG, but I am a creature of habit and dismay. I direct Redwood Voice, kind of. We've never actually discussed what my job title is. Avi's shaking his head, but which is great radio.
Yeah, I'm sure you all could sense that.
Just like how I dressed up for the radio today.
I'm wearing my best radio outfit.
Right? But you feel it. You feel the energy.
It gives you that power. Yeah, definitely.
You hear it in the voice. Ooh, best thing is when you wear combat boots onto the radio. You just like come in there.
You stomp in there, you sit down, and then you say some important stuff with your combat boots.
And then you squeak your boots into the microphone.
Like that one SpongeBob episode.
This is the second SpongeBob reference. I direct Redwood Voice. I kind of help with most things, just because that's kind of what I do, because I've had the most experience with it. I was actually, the reason I talk about the iterations of it, I was in the last iteration as just a little intern doing little things, and now
look at us.
It makes me so sad people can't see the faces you make in me.
The reactions are one of the best parts of... The facial reactions are best parts of radio. That's what I've always said.
Yeah, I do things like, if you see a Facebook post from Redwood Voice, that's me.
Yeah.
I recently started piecing together the newscast. That used to be our station manager, Paul Critz, who is thankfully kind of just doing his own thing today. Get some rest, Paul.
Take a break, my dude.
And yeah, I think that's about all from me. Let's go to you.
Me?
You.
Me. My name's Avi Critz. I use he, him pronouns. And I don't even know what my job description is. I work at Redwood Voice, and I also work at KFUG Community News, and we both do, but...
Working at one is working at both, which
True,
is...
yeah.
Or working for Redwood Voice is working for KFUG, but working for KFUG is now working for Redwood Voice.
It's like the square and the rectangle thing.
We're actually kind of exclusive.
Ooh, we're fancy. But yeah, I help with stuff. I put together a lot of news stories, and I just kind of help you with a lot of Redwood Voice video stuff. You mainly take the focus on video stuff because you just have more experience and you're just better at stuff. But
to be fair, when I'm thinking of your jobs, because we've never really discussed job titles, you're kind of just a very straightforward, you are a journalist.
Like,
you go and talk to people and get information and do the work.
I got a press badge that says so.
Yeah. So honestly... And I guess I'm more of editor. I was once called editor-in-chief while trying to make up titles, and someone made that title up for me.
That one's fun.
It is fun, but it almost feels like a presidential role of some kind. That's nasty.
Time to exact my will upon the rest of Redwood Voice.
It's the thing. I edit the country to be better.
We need that now, don't we?
Am I right, guys?
Political humor. But yeah, basically those are just kind of our general job descriptions and what we do around here. And
you can find us quite a bit on this radio station. We do the bi-weekly, but in that case, every 2 weeks, not 2 a week. Scott, that would be a lot. Newscast, the News Now, which is actually getting a little bit of a makeover soon.
Ooh.
Gonna start doing like kind of better titles and descriptions and make it seem like make it seem less like an archival job and more like this is the news and it's applicable in the future. You can come back to see what was going on.
Kind of like continuing stories and stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I know that. I went to those work meetings.
It's a leading question for our audience. That's a very good thing. You're putting in information by using their point of view.
Wow. This is what journalism is about.
We're doing so many hand motions.
I know, you're really not. I feel bad for the radio audience not experiencing all of my, I'm just, throwing my hands around.
I'm also going to put us up a little bit just because on that last line.
So first things we want to talk about?
So why did we decide to do the Redwood Voicecast? This is a very interesting question that I had because I kind of came forward with this.
Do you want me to ask it and you can answer then?
That's a very good idea.
Here we go. Yeah.
Right. Deborah?
Deborah, fresh take. Yep. So, Persephone.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do the Redwood Voicecast?
That makes it sound like I'm controlling it, and I control a lot of podcasts, but this one I'd feel skeezy about.
No. I mean, this was an idea that you brought forth. So, why did you decide this was something that you wanted to push for?
So, we were asked a very simple question for a project. How have we been doing? Just kind of in general with these past things. And that got me thinking about what's this video going to look like? Because for Redwood Voice, we got to be pushing out videos, but we want to make sure they're quality. And so there's that fun balance of getting something out. And I started thinking a lot about kind of our relationship with the community and how there's kind of this on again, off again thing of sometimes we're very
will they, won't they?
Kind of a will they, won't they. But I kind of started thinking about sometimes we're very close to the community and we're talking on with them, they're talking on with us, and then sometimes it's the opposite of that.
There's just a disconnect.
Definitely a disconnect, and part of that just if we don't post for a while, and for a while there were only 3 of us. Right now there's only 2 of our team, so kind of a lot of work to hold up.
But yes, you notice kind of a disconnect, and especially because we only have 2 journalists on payroll right now, so.
And so I kind of thought, like, and making a Facebook post, it does some things, like, but it kind of just goes over people's head. Because are you really going to read a, like, catch-up Facebook post?
From your local news
From
station.
your local news station? Like,
I mean, that's also a thing, like, a lot of, there's an influx of Facebook posts from different, like, agencies and organizations. So, I mean, a lot of people are just kind of desensitized to, okay, I'm just going to scroll past this long thing. Okay, it's pretty.
As they should, as I do.
I do constantly, yeah. There's a lot of that kind of coming at you all the time, so it's not a very personal way to connect with the community.
And that's another thing. It's very impersonal. Sometimes I wonder if people even know who we are. So I thought, like, a very cool thing is we need something that we're constantly connecting to the community, whether we're just talking about what we're doing or having some fun with them. And I thought a bi-weekly or so podcast, just we sit down around some microphones, talk about what's going on, address anything the community has. Maybe people want to send in questions or something, all sorts of things. Again, this is episode 1, and we thought about it earlier this week. So
the world's our oyster.
The world is our oyster, and I'm going to chuck it.
The world's our radio oyster.
And I'm going to crack it open for a pearl or some delicious protein meats.
Is it oyster? Yeah. Yes.
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 We don't have to fact check. We're journalists.
We're journalists. That's not important. Sad. That was a joke.
That was a joke. Because I just realized how many people are going to think that is.
God. But yeah, so I mean, again, this is episode 1. We have a lot of, we got plenty of runway left. So just kind of different ideas. And I think if anyone in the community has any ideas for how we can better interact with, like, the community at large, please, like, let us know on Facebook, or if we have an email, I don't know.
Oh yes, we do have actually a few different platforms. If you would like to reach Redwood Voice, we have a Facebook page. I believe I have the security username of just. This is great radio.
It's really good. Yeah, Googling something on air.
Facebook.com/redwoodvoice.denatl or DNATL. Because a lot of people will say denatl, and when I first heard that phrase, I didn't know how to spell it because I didn't know it was an acronym.
Yeah. It's just a weird way of pronouncing Del Norte. Where's the L?
There's Del Norte, there's Del Norte, there's denatl.
I really miss going to a bunch of different, like, building healthy community gatherings and activities in other counties and other cities, because every time it's Del Norte. Every time they
When I first moved here, I thought it was Del Norte.
And that's, yep.
But then there's some people who think Del Norte.
And that's not okay.
Like,
I understand Del Norte. Yes. Del Norte is a war crime. That's not okay.
And we also do have a Gmail address, redwoodvoicedn@gmail.com. If you want to email us. We also have a website, redwoodvoice.org. There you can find our very good articles and links to videos and all sorts of goodies.
Yeah, totally. So again, if anybody in the community has ideas or even wants to come on and talk about the community and what's going on right now, just let us know. We are super open to suggestions on how this can work. And in the meantime, we're just going to be talking about our, like, upcoming projects.
And even more so on that, one thing I hope that this podcast is able to do is get people interested in our projects and hopefully get them involved. That's honestly one of the things I'm really hoping out of this, because a lot of times we'll be like, I really want to do this with this kind of group of people, but I don't know how to find that group of people or find people who want to do this, and then you ask around and no one's interested.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of that disconnect as well.
Speaking of which, that very fun phenomenon that I think this quarantine's caused has been people getting back to you.
In what way?
So when you're a journalist, you send a lot of emails and messages out, and unfortunately, if you're going to do a story, you do have to get a response.
That's true. That is a large part of it.
Which is one reason our well's been kind of dry. The well is full of water, but someone took the bucket and ran away with it.
Now it's just a wet rope down there.
It's just a wet rope.
Just nothing, yeah.
And you gotta get it down there and wring it out into your mouth. Well, would it be into your mouth, or where's the water going?
I mean, usually you just have the bucket, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have the bucket.
We don't have the bucket. Someone stole the ding dang bucket.
We've got a bucket thief out on the town. Yeah.
So Redwood Voice has a bucket thief in our midst. It's one
important news, everybody.
Breaking news.
But anyway,
hear more about that on the next newscast coming this Wednesday.
Ooh, good plug.
5 p.m. News now.
News now. But so we've lost kind of that connection to getting people back for stories and interviews.
People don't want to talk much because there's a lot going on.
And I think I understand that just kind of overload of news and information, and sometimes you just need to kind of shut yourself down and not interact.
I do that, and I am the news, which
is...
Oh, I guess that actually does bring us back to our question. How are we doing?
Again, radio audience, I wish you could just see the face that we are making at each other. I can go first about how I'm doing, if that...
Yeah, I've been talking a lot.
No, you're all good. It's a podcast, and there's two of us. We're gonna talk a lot.
That's fair.
I personally have been struggling, to say the least. There's a lot going on in the world at large and in our community, and there's a lot of just kind of unrest and bad stuff, to put it mildly. And that can be really stressful to first just to see and just to kind of experience. That can be really tough to deal with. Okay, this happened today. Okay, another. Okay, it's just kind of, you get very, desensitized to it. On one hand, you get very just like, okay, this is more bad news. This is just gonna keep happening, huh? Okay. And on the other hand, you're a journalist, so a big part of your job is reporting on that and making sure that you are up to date on information so you can report and let people know what's going on. And that is also tough if you're just kind of shutting yourself off. That can be tough to do because it's that disconnect again. Like you don't want to engage with this information because it really just is mentally taxing, but also you need to because it's your job and you want to make sure everyone's informed. And I think I've been struggling with that a lot, just kind of making sure I am educated and I know what's going on, but also keeping in mind my mental health and what I can kind of handle. That's been something that I've been struggling with, and I've been trying to juggle during everything, especially when I'm just at home all the time with this endless flood of information coming at me. It's difficult to juggle mental health and responsibility.
Definitely. And there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. I mean, in general, that is a very good thing. You need not a good thing, you need a balance. You need a balance.
You just need it, yeah.
Because, I feel like we're probably not built as creatures to be able to take in as much information as we take every day, and it only grows. And it's great that most of us are able to act on it, and act for good, and do stuff about it, but I think we also kind of shirk off that, like, we're these meat vessels with electric computers in our head that just kind of slop around, and we can't take on things all the time.
Definitely, you need to rest, and your brain needs rest, and it's
that is something.
Your electric meat slosh needs to rest.
The sloshing electric meat pile in your brain. That was something a therapist I had once described it as. Sorry, it was a bad wet computer.
That's very good.
Yes.
I'm going to use that. That's very good.
And going on desensitized, there's also being oversensitized, I guess, because at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter protests in the wake of George Floyd, I got really heavily invested in it, even though I've been very far away from things. And even though, I'm happy that I did that, it's the most basic thing I could do is just, share information, donate, and do all that stuff. I got too into it, and I was like, I need to do more. I need to do even more. I need to help in some way, but I'm also just kind of one person with not really much of a platform. People may have noticed on Redwood Voice we shared information around, but disclaimer, even though we're very strongly behind Black Lives Matter and want to give support in any way, we're also two white people and face a lot of privilege.
Definitely, yeah.
And just kind of, so we have to also, or we do understand that, I think, and try to keep that at the forefront of things.
I think a really important part of that is, wanting to make sure that, hey, I want to be there as much as I can. I want to support. I want to do all I can. But also recognize we're white. We have a lot of privilege. We shouldn't be overshadowing black voices. We shouldn't be taking platforms that we shouldn't, know?
That's actually a problem I'm having with one of our current projects. Kind of a segue, but we can come right back around to stuff. I want to really badly do a project to amplify black voices. Even if that means a Redwood Voice is just a platform, we just give people a chance to talk. Someone just sighed really loud.
Yeah.
Just give them a chance to talk. Just get their message out. Be able to spread that. Be supportive. Because otherwise we're making a video, fabricating a message that... Basically, whatever we do, we want it to be actually helpful or beneficial. We don't want to just do it for, like, clout or respect points or whatever.
Wow, look how
great
we're
this
doing.
Organization supports something and then never talks about it.
Yeah, we want to actually be a platform for Black voices to voice whatever they need to and kind of get their information out there as well. What a weird buzzing noise.
Yeah, we just got some radio interference. How fun.
It's our rival radio station.
The
evil KFUG. It's got a mustache.
K-Guff.
Ooh.
It has a twiddly mustache and a hat.
Yep.
I thought KFUG was a female. I mean, it has a woman's name.
What? So I guess just for our radio audience, this is the radio station is back in full swing of having people over. So if you hear a lot of noises from people, and
it's just people going. It's a community radio station, yeah.
In the most literal sense. So there's someone off mic. Hello, that's Jessica Sanar from the Wild Rivers Outpost. Shout out.
Shout out. Shout out. But yeah, so we want to... I'm just going to let that...
Slink sloshing noises. I said slink sloshing.
It's the bad wet computers. So we want to be able to be a platform that doesn't overshadow Black voices, because a lot of organizations unwittingly or just not really understanding sometimes do that and just kind of overshadow and like, look, we are supporting and we're going to say all our stuff and we're going to kind of take a step too far and not realize that they're kind of overshadowing voices.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to do that because that's messed up.
Doing this is kind of a segue. A big part of that is spreading information. I feel like there's been a lot of education and resources going around this time. Like, this has been one of the, even though there are many of these protests and times, because police brutality and corruption is not a new issue by any means. Information and education has been like a very big part, and this has been a very big event. And so because of education, would you like to talk about that story that you've been cooking up, even if just briefly?
Cooking up.
I
can definitely talk about
just
that.
Just to tease it a little
just
bit.
To like, here's a little preview. Just a little.
And while you're doing it, I'm going to close this door so that the whirring noise stops in the background.
Go ahead, yes. So, you're good. So, I believe at the end of our last newscast, we had a meeting just to kind of talk about what stories we want to pursue, what we want to look into. And one of the ideas brought up was understanding what defund the police means and what are like the kind of... So the basic idea was understanding what defunding the police means and what that means for larger cities versus more rural cities like us, and what some common misconceptions about that are, and just basically what that means and what the plan is for going forward if police stations are defunded in certain cities, and what the plan would be for that. So I've been looking into a lot of that. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts from just a wide range of people. So like more larger news organizations, and then also small, more personal sort of. And I've been trying to make sure that I don't just go to, a larger organization that doesn't listen to Black voices and is just talking about it, kind of. Yeah. So I want to make sure that I'm listening to Black-led podcasts and people that are really, they're, I think, more educated and more personally have a lot of experience with it. And
people who would be most affected by it.
People who would be most affected by it, yeah. And I've honestly been learning a lot, just kind of the plan for defunding the police and demilitarizing the police, and instead investing in more community-based, just reinvesting in the community. So more social work programs, more mental health support, more just generally community-led agencies. And the idea of there are many different points to defunding the police, and then some people want to abolish the police entirely, and some people want to make sure that there are new agencies built up that can provide the support that the police in some cities just were failing to provide, and just kind of a big step towards demilitarizing the police and trying to lower the rates of police brutality, because it is a little bit rampant across our country, and and again, investing in the communities and making sure that it's more personal within the community, so it's more like neighbor caring for neighbor rather than this law enforcement agency that has a lot of military power, which is really interesting to me because I'm also going to college to be a social worker, and social work is, if defunding the police and creating these new agencies happens like on a widespread basis, social workers are going to be the ones to fill a lot of those roles, especially with responding to mental health crises and like de-escalating mental health situations, which is something that a lot of police are called for that they can mishandle because they haven't, a lot of police agencies don't properly train people in de-escalation for mental health issues. So that's, sorry to ramble.
No, that's very cool.
It's very interesting, and it's really interesting to see how
you've got me hooked. I'm very excited to hear your
check in this Wednesday for the rest of that news story. Just a little preview there. But basically, that's what I'm going to be, what I've been looking into, and I want to speak with people in our community, because again, how is this going to work for larger cities with a more funded police department, and how does this work for rural cities like here or like Arcata, which I believe has defunded a lot of their police budget. So I want to reach out to see how it would affect us if there was like a large scale defunding of all police departments, and how that would affect us, what our law enforcement thinks about that. I want to reach out and get more kind of interviews with people in the community, and so I just want to kind of find out how that would affect us if it happened here. Basically, so that's what awesome. I'm currently working on. You can catch the rest of that story this Wednesday on News Now.
And just to get a little bit of pressure off of you because of what you just said, and a lot of the information that you get, unfortunately, does require response. And so if people don't respond, then that's kind of one thing.
That's, yeah. But again, I also understand completely, because there's a lot going on right now, and I understand how. And there's also just not a lot of people, they'll hear these things and they won't want to, or just don't, because there's a lot of information out there. Don't research it that much. I'm doing a lot of very specific research from this very specific thing. A lot of people don't have that info, or just haven't seen that info yet. So it's I understand not being fully educated about a topic and not wanting to speak on it as well, because I do that sometimes. Like, I don't know enough about this. I don't feel qualified to speak on this. So it's important to do your research and make sure that you understand like what's going on before you make an argument about it, basically.
Absolutely.
That's another weird buzz. Thing. What is that?
I think just KFUG is
the
either
KFUG fairy.
Haunted or...
We went in a different way there.
It's like Monster House, but it's the radio console.
Oh, that's powerful. That's very powerful. Would you like to speak about any of the projects Redwood Voice is looking to start or working on currently?
So there's quite a lot under our belt, and unfortunately a lot of that has kind of been taken down in some way because of events. One thing that's very interesting that's kind of being changed is the My Corona comic book, which if you listen to KFUG, you've probably heard my radio ad quite a lot. When we recorded that and made that prompt, things were quite different.
What month was that?
March, early March.
The good old days.
That was March, and things were different.
Yeah.
And there are goals from that I really want to keep. So technically, at the time of recording this, it might actually come up later that this is posted, because editing has to happen to some extent, is, well, a week ago that the prompt, the whole, like, the contest, or not contest,
deadline?
But this the deadline, thank you. It ended.
It happened.
And we didn't get that many submissions because it's kind of the same vein of people don't want to do a ton because low energy and excitement for things kind of low. But also, it's kind of become the lesser of problems. We were recommended to speak to some people specifically to be like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And some of the responses I got, because they were more recent, where I would any other time, but this is like not the time to do it, because even I was uncomfortable asking, and thankfully it was a friend I was talking to, and so they were understanding that I was just kind of asked to ask. Mm-hmm. But this was also in the wake of the protests and everything happening in the world.
For sure. Was it kind of like this isn't the thing I personally want to be focusing on right now?
This is not the time to talk. This is not that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Making a funny or dramatic Corona comic. And to be fair, I've been aware of the prompt this entire time since we released it in like March, and I've not made mine.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a submission. It didn't happen. And so we're hoping to possibly... So this is all conjecture, so it could not happen, or maybe it will. We have to discuss with the other person involved, Ruthie Rhodes, along with our station manager, Paul Critz, who's behind a lot of it, to basically see if people are interested in expanding the scope. So more of kind of, what is this year like, and talking about the year, and how it affects you, how... etc. Just to kind of build a more community-based narrative, because that was the original goal. We wanted to see how people were coping. We wanted to see how people were impacted and affected, but
kind of expanding the scope in light of recent events.
It was recently about like that dang old coronavirus and being quarantined, and that has become almost a subplot.
Yeah, it's a B plot now. Oh man, but yeah, so
people are treating it like a subplot,
which it isn't, folks. It's still very much a thing.
And if you don't believe it, I would recommend searching into people who recovered from the virus and how much they're dropping on lung transplants right now, as well as other conditions that they've concocted, because it's not being talked about in mainstream news sources. We should do a story on that.
We should do a story on that.
Hey, what happens after you get...
Because once you're not sick anymore, it doesn't mean there aren't lasting effects from having the coronavirus.
Very healthy people need new lungs.
Yeah.
And that's not an organ just lying around. Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. People don't just have, I got a spare lung in my freezer. Let me just go grab it.
It's a little dirty.
Sorry, it's been a while. So you want to let it defrost?
I'll get a hairdryer.
Sorry.
That's the thing that messed me up the most, seeing people need lung transplants.
That's new information for me. That is. Yeah.
I don't hear much about people needing new lungs.
Other than just like smokers and stuff. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. It's wild that you can just like put other lungs in your body and it works. Bodies are weird.
Bodies are weird.
Returning to our theme of bodies are weird.
Bodies are weird. On tonight's story.
Bad wet computers. Anything else we wanna talk about project wise?
See, there's the My Corona comic book. I feel like I was in the middle of a thought and then I totally forgot it.
Oh yeah.
Let me open some other notes. Yeah, just kind of expanding the things. There's the How We Doing thing, so that's off the list. The whole Redwood Voicecast. We're hoping to do this pretty frequently. Honestly, I can't think of much else. It's just a recap. We want to do something to amplify black voices. If there are black voices out there listening, please hit us up. We want to do something, possibly several somethings. I kind of want to do something for Pride Month, and this is something that I've said repeatedly. This Pride Month feels like being an adult on Christmas for the first time, because there have been other things at play, but I guess I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in real quick. This kind of reflects on the origins of Pride Month, considering the Stonewall riots and how incredibly brave trans women of color fought for our rights.
The first Pride was a riot.
Pride was a riot.
And then not only was it a riot, then they continued to build organizations to help queer people after that. So it wasn't just the riot, it was the riot and then the continued activism after that, which a lot of people don't acknowledge as well. They built stuff from the ground up that helped queer and trans people, and that's something that we should look to do as well.
And there was a lot of retaliation against that.
Yep.
Especially from police. It's almost like there's a big theme going on.
Can't quite place it.
I mean, yeah, things aren't perfect, for sure. I am happy in better news that there was that Supreme Court case, which, to be honest, I wasn't expecting to go as well as it did.
That was very surprising. That was truly very surprising.
And obviously there are other employment issues, because people can lie about the reasons that you're firing someone, but it is another protection in place that we did not previously have, because we have incredibly few.
And I listened to another podcast about this.
Ooh.
But it was a momentous sort of a Supreme Court ruling that adds to like top 5 for gay rights. First of all, that's up there with gay marriage. Absolutely. That you can't be fired for being gay, and it is the first like federal legislation that talks about trans people. that is like the first one that
Yeah.
talks about and protects trans people, which is big. That's big landmark. Yeah. So that is a really in other good news, that is an amazing thing that happened this past
An amazing
weeks.
And there are good things, and there are actually many good things that have come of the riots. I wish I had a list, because I'm not going to just say them off like the top of my head, but I do recommend searching out for those. And granted, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. The cops that murdered Breonna Taylor still have not been arrested. One was fired, and that was it. And hopefully we will see justice for that, because people are still heavily campaigning for that,
As
even
they
with
should be.
momentum dying off.
They should be, because that is, yeah.
Yeah, many things. I was actually very surprised the other day. There's this comedy dude I watched. Do you know Danny Gonzalez?
Yes.
On his in screen, instead of like the place where he usually plugs it, it was just a blank screen that just says "Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor." So they're even just in big circles. I don't know. That was very like strange to me, but like in a good way, just like
kind
in
of
big
strangely
circles,
unexpected, but like
just like, huh?
it's good that people
Cool
who you
people
wouldn't and people you wouldn't expect to have to use their platform to say stuff, because a lot of the time for like YouTubers and stuff that can be divisive for a lot of their fans who aren't supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is messed up.
So racist.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of influencers kind of back off of that because they don't want to lose followers, which balance kind of your influence in the platform that you have with saying the right thing. It depends, but that's pleasantly surprising to hear more influencers kind of speaking up and voicing their support.
And then lots of comedy outlets. Like, we're both very big nerds of the McElroy brothers, and they have been just very nonstop, like donating all of their ad revenue to like black resources and trans black resources and queer resources and all of these things, just in the wake of things.
So there are good people out in the world.
There are many good people
who are doing their best. Yeah. And I think that's a good ending note. There are good people.
Yeah.
Do all you can to support good people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh yeah, I'm gonna end it because that's a really good note.
Boom.
And otherwise I'll just keep rambling, and then it'll be on a less positive note. But this was the first episode of our Redwood Voicecast. This was fun to do. Listen to us in a bit.
Couple days.
Oh yeah, a couple days for the newscast.
For News Now at I believe 5 on Wednesday.
5 p.m. on
5 p.m.
Wednesday.
Check us out.
Pacific Central Time if you're listening outside of that.
Hoo-hoo.
Hoo-hoo. Streaming on KFUG Radio 101.1 FM and online at kfugradio.org. You can check out our website for Redwood Voice, which is redwoodvoice.org. And yeah.
Follow us on Facebook.
Like us, subscribe to our YouTube
Hit that
channel.
Notification bell.
Our YouTube channel, unfortunately, doesn't have a specialized link yet because we don't have enough subscribers. So if you want to help us with that,
yeah.
You gotta have like 150 subscribers before.
We can totally do that.
Go
subscribe to us. Get us there.
Do it.
Do it.
You know you want to. Yeah.
Well, yeah. We'll see you next time, folks.
See you around.
Now back to some dad rock.
Back to next one is Paul Simon. Have a good time.
We're returning to Paul Simon's Good Time.
We will have a good time, Paul Simon.
Forward to that.
Look forward.
And we'll see you next time, folks.